We are Marc, Amy, Juliette and Clement from the medieval Chateau de Rosieres. This Christmas we've made you a very special advent calendar. Every day from the 1st to the 25th of December we will open the door to a different room in the chateau and introduce you to its past, present and future. Merry Christmas.
Hello everybody. Who's this?
This is Amy and Marc from Chateau de Rosieres.
It sure is, and we're nearly at the end of our Advent tours, which we hope you've been enjoying. And yesterday we left you on tenterhooks about the next one we were going to do. We were in the master bedroom of the chateau with our new wall hangings, which we haven't yet fitted properly. And we said we were going to show you the ensuite bathroom because there's an awful lot to tell you about it. And so, I mean, starting from the outside, you can see we really haven't fitted this. It's supposed to be a sort of invisible door. And eventually, once we've solved a few logistical issues, the whole painting should look like one until you push the door open and go in.
Ready.
Shall we go in?
Let's go. If we can fit.
So, my chérie, would you like to tell them a bit about this room?
I'd love to tell many things about this room. So, you might remember from our past videos that there are two straight joints on the front of the chateau. And we are actually just at the junction with one of them, at what would have probably been the corner of an outside wall. We found that because when we arrived in this place, this was already a little bathroom, but it was very narrow,
Really
very
small, wasn't it?
yeah,
Very low ceiling.
yeah. The ceiling was lower than it is now, and they had fitted a cabin shower in the corner. There was a toilet with a shredder that would go off in the middle of the night. There was a tiny sink, and so it wasn't very pleasant to use. And
we sort of thought that there was no point in renovating a fabulous big room there, or restoring it really, and then having just a horrible little bathroom on the side for guests.
Yeah. And anyway, we needed to do to redo the whole drainage because it was all going through 40 millimeter, so 1.5 inch pipe.
And it was emptying into a pond in the front garden, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a septic tank the previous owners didn't know about that had been put in one of the ornamental ponds on the front garden. So we had to drill big holes through the walls and stuff. So those of you who saw Escape to the Chateau DIY might have seen us do some of that. But
it's also, if you ever get to watch that episode, Mark spent the entire time of filming trying to get as many puns in as possible about the gigantic boring machine that we used.
Yeah, I've recycled that pun a few
No,
times.
you recycled that one. You also managed to get in, I don't know if there's light at the end of the tunnel, didn't you?
Don't spoil everything. So, 3 years later, the tiny bathroom is still not finished.
But that's partly because the eco-sewage system isn't finished yet, which is what this new massive boring hole went into. And so we can't actually really use this bathroom yet. So in a way, there's no point in finishing it if it can't be used until that whole sewage system is sorted out, is there?
That would be because we'd be able to use it sooner.
Yeah, well, we're working on it in parallel.
Okay, so let's talk about the history. Okay. So when we enter this room, we have a little bit of about 80 centimeters of low ceiling, which is actually the thickness of the wall it is going through. So it would have been an outside wall on the fortress, defensive wall. And when we broke the old ceiling... the electricity tripped, so I might need to have a look at that.
That's quite nice light though without that.
Yeah.
So this room this tiny, tiny room actually tells us loads about the chateau. Because when we wanted to see if the ceiling on this, we were trying desperately to search for more space to make this tiny, tiny room a bit bigger. And when we were filming for the TV show, I was here with a drill and a jackhammer trying to go through the ceiling. And it was really disappointing because we hit solid wall. As Marc said, this was just a big wall going through. And then just after the film crew left, I was like, let's see a bit more. Oh, there we go. And I started drilling around here and it went straight through the ceiling. And when we ripped the ceiling out, we could see right up to the floor of the floor of the floor above. And then we started going backwards as well. And we found this huge cavity. And we were able to realise that this room was actually used as a chimney. So we're beside in the master bedroom where you saw us yesterday. There's a huge, beautiful, beautiful fireplace. Well, this room was actually the fireplace for the room the other side before, originally. And we could see the fire flue coming down and just ending behind that wall. And then some point in the 20th century, it was converted into a bathroom, which was shared between the master bedroom and the other bedroom. And we know that because we met someone who lived here in the 1930s who remembered sharing the bathroom between the both sides. So the really interesting thing is that before it was a fireplace, as Marc was saying, this was the junction of two buildings. And we know that because when we broke through the ceiling, we found that this wall that we're underneath now actually has a window further up, which was an outside window, which completely blew our minds.
When that lady who visited told us about the two-way bathroom, she clearly remembered that there were two sinks below the window. When we arrived, it was actually the place for the toilet. And but when she talked about it, I remembered we had in the barn a piece of marble with two holes that would have fitted perfectly.
Well, you didn't know that. You had just had a suspicion when she said, didn't you?
Yeah, but it clicked. Clicked, and I thought, let's try this marble under the window, and the marble perfectly fitted. So it is probably the marble that was there originally.
There's any doubt in that, isn't there? Because it's exactly, we carried it through on the TV, didn't we? We put it in place and every little notch fitted the wall perfectly.
And we definitely didn't measure it before carrying it.
We measured it, but we didn't try it in place.
No.
I was quite impressed anyway.
Then we found some things that fitted underneath the marble, and we decided to restore it as it was in the early 20th century.
Once we discovered that we still had those sinks from the early 20th century, we decided to redesign the entire bathroom based on that, didn't we? And to be true to that. Obviously, we didn't know what else was in here, and we also wanted more modern comforts than they might have done. But we decided to take every bit of spare space we had. So we pushed back into the old fireplace and to do a recessed shower so that would be as big as possible. So a big rain shower with side handle ones as well, because Marc hates rain showers. And
no, I don't see the point of getting all wet when you don't want to.
And we put the loo in the middle because that was the only place left, and we put a heated towel rail, and we put in beautiful tiles that were in the style of 19th century as well, didn't we?
Cement tiles. Yeah. They actually made locally from the company down the Rhone Valley. And there used to be a tradition of cement tiles in southern Ardèche and a bit in the Drôme. And there's one remaining company that still makes them. So we used them to make it a bit more a bit lighter,
a bit fancier. Yeah. And then we're going to, the ceiling is still open whilst we do the remaining pipe work at the top for an evacuation. I can't even remember what it's called in English. Extractor fan.
Yeah, and also we need to connect the hot water balloon from the attic.
Yeah.
So it will go down straight from the top down to this floor.
And we renovated the little cupboard underneath it. That was your idea, wasn't it? You found some cupboard doors.
Yep.
And we restored them, worked on them, and then had a carpenter build a frame for them so they would fit underneath. And we also did some experimental plaster paint. So we did lime plastering on here. We chipped off the tiles that were here before, which were 1980s tiles that weren't particularly lovely. And we replastered it, and then we painted it with natural pigments, and I love it. You're not 100% sure, are you?
No, not completely, but...
And I think the difficulty is that we had plasterboard on one side, what you call drywall in North America, I think, and then we had the lime plaster here. We didn't know about facime at the time that we're using in the coach house, so we have two very contrasting textures next to each other. We have the plaster, the rough plaster, beside a very, very smooth surface.
I think it's what I don't like actually, but
I don't mind it.
We might be able to do some facime on that wall to make the texture look more similar. Yeah. And repaint it the same color. It's not so much the color than the texture I don't like.
No. I'm doing a lot of painting on this one because this is really my baby, this room. It's
because she talks a lot.
Also, you're holding the microphone, aren't you? We've only got one microphone because I've lost the other one. So yeah, I'm talking a lot about this one because this is really my baby. I feel like it's... I've always been the one that's felt that in order to reflect the beauty of the room out there, we need something, if not big, beautifully luxurious that does justice to the whole experience of staying in this room. And so my rather ambitious plan, this is where the whole tile making started, this bathroom. Back in 2019, I decided that I was going to do a full wall mural for a recessed shower, and that I would do it in on tiles, and I would do it properly fired so that they could be used and have water running on them and not break and not degrade over the years. And I wanted to do it in the kind of Art Nouveau style, heavily stylized form, because I'm not a great artist. And I'd seen some old wallpapers and some stained glass windows and things, and I thought, right, I'm going to do it so it looks a bit like a stained glass window, and so it's also a reference to being here. And one night I just kind of sketched an idea, and it was a peacock, very stylized peacock with a tail flowing down, with the background of the Alps mountains and some chestnut trees, horse chestnut trees coming down over the sides, which is what we have along our alleyway, along the grand driveway, and then some irises, because we have loads of irises and we love them. And actually that one little sketch ended up being the blueprint for what I'm doing for my tiles. At that point, I had no ceramics knowledge whatsoever, but I did decide to invest in a kiln, and I bought pre-made tiles, which is what I think you've seen a lot of people do in other chateaux and other channels and all sorts of things. People will buy pre-made tiles and then use a special type of ceramic paint. It's essentially a clay slip and glaze all in one, so you can paint it a bit like real painting. And then fire it, and you don't need any ceramics knowledge whatsoever for that. So that suited me at the time. So I've been doing this project for quite a while, and it's only that I realised that this was way too ambitious. No, the pricing of buying ready-made tiles, the time it takes to draw beautiful murals, things like that. That's why I decided to move on for the future bathrooms in other buildings to just making my own tiles, which is a lot more cost effective, and also to have something I can mass produce, whether it's molds or tiles patterns I can imprint. Anyway, back to this one. I'd just like to show you a little bit more of it, but I think I need to leave the bathroom in order to do that. I thought you might like to see some examples of the tiles that I'm working on. Here's the overall one. And these are some finished tiles that I've done. These are the parts of the irises from the garden. I'm quite pleased with those ones. But also these ones show you the difference between a fired and an unfired tile. So we've got one fired one in the middle and two unfired ones on either side. And you can see that the colour, it's not like painting. The colours change when they're glazed. So these mountains over on that side will be this colour eventually. This deep blue of the neck here will be the same on those two. And the leaves there that are very pale will be a dark green like this. And that's just to do with the nature of the glazes. But the other big problem that I've come up against is that I have to do a certain number of layers of each glaze. It's different for each glaze in order to get the level of opacity that I like. So the strength of the colour and the fact that you can't then see the tile through it. But when you've actually painted it, you look at it and you think, oh, I've beautifully painted that. It's glazed, it's lovely, it's all going to come out lovely. And then when you actually glaze it, you realise you've missed loads of bits. You've actually only done one layer there, but you can't tell until you glaze it. And that's what's been causing me the problems, because what that means is essentially I have to focus on every tile. I have to start it and finish it, because if I get interrupted part of the way through it, even if I try to make notes, it's impossible to always remember which bits you've done one layer, which ones you've done two layers, because you can't predict when you're going to get interrupted either. And with children, that's a big problem. So if my children ever let me get to sleep before I get a break before about midnight, I'm going to try to attempt one of these in the evening, and it's my New Year's resolution to finish these.
We know this room is quite small, but we found it interesting to show it to you because it shows all the layers of history in the chateau, going from the medieval fortress all the way to the 20th century bathroom. And also a bit of the challenges we have to overcome to make every single space livable.
Like, so some people talk about, why didn't you just do a bathroom so you can have more people? Or we have to drill through 2 meter thick walls.
Yeah, we have to redo the sewage in order to do a bathroom. So yeah, that's basically it. And so when we redo the sewage, it has to be for the whole estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it started actually.
Yeah.
So we started making one tiny bathroom and then planting reed beds. And yeah. So yeah, it's not a very simple process.
But we're really excited to show you this room, and we hope that you've enjoyed it.
Yep. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done it yet.
Or Marc will be very cross with you.
And Amy even worse. And see you tomorrow for the last...
No, it's not the last one.
Not the last.
It's not yet. Christmas Day tomorrow.
Shame.
But yeah, we're coming right to the end of our Advent series, and we really hope that you've enjoyed it. But yeah, keep tuning in. There's a few more rooms to go.
Bye.